everybody. I'm Leora Sims. Welcome to my channel, and welcome to another episode of my Sims 4 Law and Order SVU series. If you missed any of the previous episodes, please go back and watch them, and please pay attention to the information provided in the description of the video, especially if you or someone you know is in need of help. That's why the information is there. In the previous episode of the series, I mentioned that it's Women's History Month. That the month of March is Women's History Month. And in honor of that, I would like to very briefly talk about a woman who I admire. And that woman is Judge Judy. Judge Judy was born on October 21st, 1942 in Brooklyn, New York. And she always knew she wanted to be a lawyer because she found that she had a gift for talking and getting her point across. Judge Judy went to law school at a time that very few women went to law school. She went to American University in Washington, and she was in a program where she was able to complete her last year of college her BA program, and her first year of law school at the same time. She started it at American University, but then she got married and she had children because she knew that she wanted a career, but she didn't want to miss out on being a mother and having a family. Her then husband had a job in New York, so she moved to New York, and she was a law student in New York. And in New York at that time, law professors were less supportive of women. Judge Judy was asked by a professor why she was taking up the seat of a man in the class who needed the profession of law to feed his family. In other words, he was asking why a woman would take a spot in a law class that could be given to a man. And what I admire the most about Judge Judy after hearing her interview is that it didn't bother her. Judge Judy just wanted to be the best lawyer that she could be. The best lawyer. It didn't matter to her that she was female. It wouldn't have mattered to her if she was male. She just wanted to be the best at her job and the best at her chosen profession. And eventually, she became a prosecutor, and she was appointed to judgeship in 1982 in the family courts. And in the family courts, I think that she did a lot of good because she was tough. Because she wanted people, young people who came before her, to know that there were consequences for their bad behavior. Because she wanted to be able to stop that bad behavior before these people became adults. Judge Judy, in an interview that I saw, called herself a law and order girl. And what that means to her is that in a civil society, people should act civilized and have laws, and those laws should be humane, and those laws should be followed. And if they're not followed, there should be consequences. In other words, nobody has the right to decide that they are going to beat up an elderly woman, or a teenager, or a man, or a woman, or anyone, just because they feel like it. You should never just walk down the street and say, I feel like beating somebody up today, and do it. That is wrong. And if somebody does that, there should be consequences. And Judge Judy was known as a tough judge because she made sure that the kids who came before her in her courtroom had consequences, that it wasn't just lip service, that there would truly be a consequence, not just a slap on the wrist. And sometimes these consequences, probably a lot of the times, these consequences helped teens and helped young people who came before her in the family court. Because children and human beings in general want, in Judge Judy's opinion and in my opinion, they want rules and structure to follow. And those rules should be good rules. And as I said, humane rules. There was once a case that I saw on Judge Judy where a girl was set up by her friend to be beat up by other girls. And Judge Judy went off on these girls. And went off on the so-called friend. And she told a story about something that happened in the family court. There were these other girls years ago, and they were in a pack. And they saw a girl walking, and they wanted her earrings. So they took her earrings. And they killed her. And Judge Judy felt that had those girls not been in a pack and not have been encouraging each other to bully, that the young woman whose earrings were stolen would not have lost her life. Those girls had no right to kill that young woman. And that so-called friend had no right to have her friend beat up. And another sad thing about that story is that the girl trusted, let's call her Jane. Jane trusted that her friend was her friend. Jane trusted her friend to take her home. Jane didn't expect to be beat up. That's unacceptable behavior, and people like Judge Judy because she thinks that people should be accountable for their actions and to take responsibility for themselves. Life is hard. Everybody has something. Sometimes you meet a person who grew up without a father, and he or she turns out to be a horrible parent. But sometimes you run into somebody with the same background, with a horrible parent, who decides, makes the choice to be a good parent. It's a choice. Beating somebody up, hurting somebody, is a bad choice. making the world a better place despite your circumstances is a good choice. And I believe that most people love law and order. They want their society to have civilized laws. And they want to follow those laws. And if those laws are not followed, it's very nice when the victim of a crime knows that even though they were hurt, the people responsible for that hurt were held accountable by the justice system. I just found out recently that it would be quicker for me to go to law school today than it would be if I got a counseling degree. I was looking into this counseling degree, and it's 72 credits and 2 years of school. And after you get out of school, you are not eligible under this program to take a licensing exam to practice counseling. You have to study under a certified counselor for an additional 2 years. If one goes to law school, after they finish, they're eligible right away to take the bar. They may not pass it right away, but they're eligible to take it. But you guys should know that although I don't like the counseling program that I looked into, I'm still looking into becoming a certified rape counselor, and I made some inquiries and followed some information, and I'm going to fill out a form, and I will let you know how that goes. And I will be back with gameplay. I'm back, and you can probably see that Olivia Benson is very happy, and I want to explain that. She is very sad for Madeline Kramer. She is very sad for all the victims that she has to work with. But she's very happy and fulfilled in her job. She is going to talk to Madeline some more. They still need to develop a rapport. And she's going to fire her up a little bit. Because sometimes when someone is victimized, Olivia fires them up and gets them to believe in themselves and helps them go from victim to survivor. So she could use that. And I'm just going to say that the DA's office is very, very busy. That's why you have people walking in and out. I can make this a generic lot, which would mean that no Sims would randomly show up. But right now it's categorized as a library. And I thought about doing something else for this part of the episode this week, but I have to build something and do some things before I do what I was planning on. So Olivia told a great story. So I'm going to say that she told an inspiring story about another survivor. Leaving out names, of course, because there is such a thing as confidentiality. And confidentiality is extremely important in law enforcement. It's extremely important in counseling that counselors keep confidentiality, and it's extremely important that lawyers keep confidentiality. And a lot of organizations as well. I remember recently that someone that I knew was getting services from an organization that I used to get services from, and he wanted to date me, and he mentioned me to somebody, and in the organization where he was getting services, and they said, "Oh, we know her," and it turned out that I got services from an organization that was connected to the organization that he was getting services from. So they weren't exactly the same entity, but they both organizations communicate with each other. And he told me that he asked about me, and he actually called me up and was trying to see if I was lying to him, or wanted to know why I didn't tell him something. And I told him that what I think, because he was trying to get me help for my he might have been trying to get me help for my physical disability. I think it was more for himself than for me, but that's what he said his goal was. And I hadn't mentioned that I had had any services ever. And so he called me up and felt that I had lied to him. And I explained to him that I didn't lie to him, that the services I received were education related years ago, and none of his business, and that the subject of my education never came up. So Of course, I didn't lie to him, but I am a private person. Um, but I was very angry at the organization that told him anything about my personal business, and they told him things about my personal business uh, out of context and without my consent. So I think I've said this several times, but confidentiality is very, very important, especially in professions where you must serve people. So let me see if where Madeline is. She should be here because they're in a group together. So if she disappeared, I can just say go here together and she'll appear. Oh, I'm sorry. She is in that chair. So I don't have to do that. Let me um, discuss fitness techniques or self-defense again because she didn't take a class yet. Give her a heartfelt compliment. Tell her that she is a strong woman who can get through this. Looking for the get to know interaction or discuss interest interaction. And pretty soon I will be controlling the sim Rafael Barba on camera again. Maybe not next week, but maybe the week after. I know it's pretty soon because I have some ideas that I just came up with right before recording this. Okay, she's going to talk up. Let's see, talk up Rafael. Yes, she can talk up Rafael. And I'm going to see if she knows that last trait. Yes, he found out that not only is Madeline gloomy and clumsy, but she's a perfectionist. At the beginning of this scene, Olivia didn't know that Madeline was a perfectionist. And maybe Madeline will get a job soon. Maybe Olivia will help her get a job. She's going to talk actually now to Rafael Barba, who she just had lunch with in the last episode, but it's still the same day, by the way. She's going to tell him a dramatic story because she's always dramatic with him, especially when they're working together. And I don't mean dramatic in a negative way. I mean it in a positive way. Olivia can't go to the station for another 2 days. And she just reached level 8 of the charisma skill. I hope you saw that. If you didn't, I just told you. I'm ending this episode here, guys. I hope that you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed bringing it to you. Be happy, healthy, and stay safe.